Hello, thanks for joining us for Tackle Tuesday, Slideline USA. Today I'm going to go over what slidelining is and how the whole thing works. This may be a little bit of a lengthy video with a lot of talk. But by the end of this video, I hope you have a better understanding of what's going on, how this works. And at the end of the video, I'll go ahead and I'll give you information on how to get hold of everything that you see here, everything that you would need. Okay, so what is slidelining? It is a method of deploying a larger bait off of the beach on casted gear further than you would ever be able to cast it. Okay, there's a lot of people out there that they're not trying to kayak a big shark bait out. You know, they're not trying to do any of that, or they can't. Let's say you have older people that just aren't trying to kayak out. You have big people that can't fit in kayaks. This is a method of getting, like I said, large baits way further than you could ever get them. And if you go through this entire system, if you put everything together, it works perfectly. It works like a charm. There have been fish 12 foot plus caught on this type of tackle. Okay, it takes time to learn. It is a learning curve. You'll get it, okay? And when you get it, it works flawlessly. It's amazing. All right, with that being said, rods, okay? When you see us fishing these rods, the rods that we're fishing are in excess of 14 feet, okay? They're usually anywhere from 12 to 14. That 13 to 14 foot range being about perfect, and it's for elevation and casting distance. That is the same reason when you see us fishing, we're using low reel position rods. Historically, I guess in a lot of fishing applications, the reel is up high, okay, and you're holding it with your right hand, and you're casting this way. With this application, I'm casting with my my left hand, my low hand, and I'm doing that for a few reasons. Better casting distance, more power in your cast. You won't find a single tournament caster that's casting with a high reel position. There's a reason for that. It's also fighting fish. Fighting fish, way more comfortable. And it's all things that you'll see in the video, and you'll be able to understand, especially if you try doing this stuff. Now, you can fish this technique on regular gear. Okay. Spinning tackle, yeah, you could get away with it, but it's probably not going to work out the best because you won't be able to cast heavy mono far enough. That's why we use these. Okay, this is a Daiwa Saltiga 50 HA. Okay, that's kind of the big boy. All right, I do have one reel that is a little bit bigger that I fish, which is this guy, the Torium 50. Okay, but as you can see, I mean, that's a huge reel to be throwing. All right, so the object of this is spooling up properly so that you have enough line for when you hook a large fish that he can take line under a decent amount of drag. You don't want to fish super heavy, and he'll gas out. Okay, so you want to try to get at least 800-900 yards on these little reels, and the way you do it is braid backing. You find yourself a thin braid backing. A 40-pound or a 50-pound is usually best. I use Berkley Whiplash, 50-pound, and you put about anywhere from 550 to 600 yards of that on your spool. Then on top of that, you're going to go ahead and put whatever is left room-wise. On the Saltiga 50, I can fit 250 to 300 yards of 0.55 diameter monofilament. That is 30-pound test. Okay, so you can do 30, you can do 40. When you start getting into that 50, it starts getting a little thick, and you lose a lot of distance when you're casting. Although it is much more abrasion resistant, and yes, it is nice to fish 50 when you can. If the fish are close and you're not sliding baits real far, you're good. If you're not trying to get behind the sandbar, you're good. 50 works. But for all intent and purposes, 30-pound is where I go. Here's your rig. Okay? Your rig starts out with a Sputnik sinker. I modify these. You can see how I modify them on my other video. It's I believe it is called Sputnik Sinker Modifications. It's also under the Slideline USA. Okay? The modification is the larger legs, and the reason being, it holds better. Okay? That needs a lot of tension for it to pull out. Okay? But it will pull out. Anyway, so you have that. That is attached to, I'd say, 2 foot of 40-pound or 50-pound mono. Okay? That is needed for stretch. It is also needed so that if a big fish runs you up near a reef or rocks or whatever, that will break free and your weight will drop. Okay? So this gets casted out first. All this stuff gets casted out first before you slide your rig. Okay? So you have your weight. You have 2 foot of mono to a number 4.0 swivel. Okay? The reason I say a 4.0 swivel or larger is because when I build my slides that I sell and use, this hole cannot receive that swivel. It acts as a stopping point, which you need. Okay? So a 4.0 or larger swivel, and that is attached to, I'd say, 5.5 feet. I start these at 6 foot, and then when you're done tying it, it's about 5.5 feet of 200-pound carbon-coated cable. Okay? And then that is attached to a 150-pound or 130-pound wind-on leader. Okay? And I tie this connection. And if you can see, I leave a little tag of cable right there. And there's a reason I do that, and I'm going to go over that later in this video, why I do this. But it's a game changer. It's a great little trick. Okay? But that goes to a 150-pound wind-on leader. Okay? And that's all that is. Alright? So the thing is, you take this, you cast it out as far as you can possibly get it. You find a cut in the sandbar, you could find a rip going out, you could find a deep gut. Anywhere you want to send a real large bait, you cast that weight in there, and you get it hung in the sand the best you can. Then, you've got your slide rig. Okay? Once your weight is buried in the sand, you're going to have this baited up with whatever you're going to use for bait. A whole mackerel, a whole bluefish, a whole mullet. You can use whole stingrays, baby sharks. You can use anything you want. Up to about 8 pounds you can slide. When you start getting into those heavier baits, the weight kind of wants to rip out. So, I mean, a good bait is, you know, a good bluefish, a good 2-3 pound bluefish will slide really well. Any bait that you want to rig up, no matter what it is, you want it to be somewhat aerodynamic, okay? And that's because you don't want that bait to spin or to fold over. As minimal resistance as you can put on that slide clip, the better, okay? It'll still slide, but it could start spinning. The way I rig my baits is I put one hook lower down in the bait, in the belly or in the back, and then this just goes right through the lips of the bait. Okay, so your bait will just sit there, you know, nice and straight. All right? These rigs are double hook 12-0 J hooks. Okay? About 4.5 feet of 200-pound carbon-coated steel to my slides. Okay? These slides are available, and I will go over that here in a minute, but there's your slide. Okay? So once your rig is out there, you connect the slide to your 30-pound mono, and you start shaking that rod tip. And when you do that, it's going to start walking all the way out. Okay, I've heard people refer to it like king mackerel fishing off a beach. It is not like king mackerel fishing off a beach at all. That is done with 2 rods and a clip that if a wave were to hit that clip, it would wash everything right back to the beach. This will not. Okay? The reason it will not is because of its design. When a wave hits this clip, it'll pull it backwards. When that happens, your line will kink. And when it kinks, it won't allow that to move. It can if a huge wave crushes it, but normally it's enough resistance to just hold it there, and then once that wave goes past, the backwash of the water and you shaking will make that keep walking down the line. Okay? So, once your clip goes underwater, you're going to start using longer strokes. Okay, and what that's doing is it's stretching your line. Okay, and as it stretches, this thing will continue to walk down the line. At some point around, let's say 100 or so strokes, you'll notice a difference in the tension of the line. Okay, it'll just feel more solid. It'll feel like it's purchased in the sand really well. I'm not 100% sure, but I firmly believe that that means that this clip has made it as far down as it's going to go, which is over that piece of steel I showed you. When a fish picks this up, he's going to go to that stopper that I showed you, and then because you have 5 foot of cable on there, okay, and 5 foot of cable here, now you're fighting a fish on 10 foot of cable and 150 mono. So it's a way to target really big fish on really light gear. Let's go outside, and I'm going to show you the best I can in my backyard how this clip works, and we'll go down the line. Yeah, let's go. All right, guys. Well, it's a little windy, stormy, rainy. Water looks terrible out there, so I figured we're going to do this in the backyard. I will get some more footage of how this works underwater. We're actually trying to figure out a clear water environment or a pool that I can show you guys how this works. Water actually helps it go a lot better because what happens is it will make the bait virtually weightless. You know, it makes it kind of buoyant, so it'll stay in. It has an easier time pulling it through the water. For these purposes, doing this in the backyard, I have down there at the other end of the yard on that fence down there, which is probably, I don't know, I'd say 50 to 60 yards. I've got a piece of 50-pound mono and the leader that I just went over with you in the tutorial with the cable and the wind-on leader. I've got my non-return slide, and attached to that, this piece of cable, this section that goes to your hooks, would normally be about 3 to 4 foot long. I tied this on to kind of mimic a bait and just show a little bit of weight and let you guys see where it's going. It cannot pull a bait across the grass. It's not going to do it. There's too much resistance. But when it's in the water, it does go. And like I said, we'll get you that footage. To put your slide on, they come like this. Okay? You've got your beads or bead. I make them now with 1 single bead because this was just useless. Okay, you move those ahead. You take your mono and you go through like that. That brings it through the first coil in the back, just like that. Then you hold here and you just continue wrapping that line through this coil, okay? Till you get all the little lines through that coil. So now this can slide freely. Move your beads back up. Snap that into place. Okay, so the way this works is it can slide one direction, okay? And with a loose line, it can actually slide both directions. But when you put tension on the line, it can't slide anymore. So it can slide forward. Well, it's not tight enough. But when it wants to slide backwards, it necessarily can't. Okay? Forward, stop. Forward, stop. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this about here, chest level, and I'm going to let this thing go, and I'm just going to start pulling on this the way that I would with the rod tip. Now keep in mind, with the rod tip there's going to be even more elevation because you're using 13 to 14 foot rods. You're also up on a sandbank, so this this is how this works. Okay, so down here, okay, it already went over that. You saw that in this video. But when I explained earlier about leaving this little tag here, okay, what that's for is when this slides over that, it can't come back. See, it'll lock it in place. So once your clip makes it onto your cable, that's it. If a fish picks it up and tries to run back with it, it can't. And you're good. And that's it. Once she gets down here, your fish will take off. Where that's tied to the fence is normally the weight. Okay, so it'll get here, he'll take off, rip your weight out, and you got him. So that is essentially how this slide thing works. Thanks for watching the video, guys. If you are interested in anything that you saw in this video, everything is available. All you have to do is contact us at slidelineusa@gmail.com. I have everything available from slides. Okay, they come in a 4-pack. Wind-on leaders. I sell them single or in a 4-pack. And fully made rigs. Okay, these are your traces. I have them with skirts or without skirts. What is the reason for the skirts? Some people say that it makes a difference when the fish don't want to bite the normal rigs, that they will hit one with a skirt. Why? Don't ask me. I cannot in my mind understand why a shark would turn down one bait and then eat another one that has a piece of plastic on it. But if you watched one of the earlier videos when my buddy Caleb caught his nice lemon shark, we had 3 baits out that day. And the only fish that bit was the one on his, and he was the only one using those skirts. So it's something about that pink skirt. I'm not sure what it is, but it's a thing. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and go out and go fishing, man. Go out and go fishing. Don't worry about the size fish you're catching. Enjoy your life. Have a good one.